So you guys want to learn about spellcasting in Baldur's Gate 3? Well, fear not. Let's start off with a little swish and flick Wingardium Leviosa. It's not Harry Potter. Wait, this is Harry Potter? Welcome back, guys. I hope everyone is enjoying their weekend. Since everyone's been spending so much time inside due to the coronavirus, I thought what better time than to release a Baldur's Gate 3 spellcasting video. It's a really cool subject in D&D, and I think it might be even cooler in Baldur's Gate 3, for we'll actually get to see with our very own eyes magic at its finest. If you guys do end up enjoying this video, please subscribe, for there'll be much more Baldur's Gate 3 content on the way. And if you guys missed my previous content, make sure to check that out as well. Without wasting any more time, let's get right into spellcasting. First and foremost, what is a spell in Baldur's Gate 3? A spell is a discrete magical effect, a single shaping of the magical energies that suffuse the multiverse into a specific, limited expression. More simply put, it's basically the magic that you will do that can be used for a variety of situations. Magic can deal damage, undo damage, impose or remove conditions, drain life energy away, restore life to the dead, and much more. Understanding the basics for how spellcasting will work is something that all players should be willing to do, for even if you plan to have your main character be more physically based, you will still be controlling an entire party in Baldur's Gate 3. It's highly likely that one or more of your party members will be a more magic-based character, and you need to know how to use them effectively. So this video is not just for your classic wizard or cleric, so to say, it's for everyone who's interested in playing Baldur's Gate 3. It's also probably a good idea to understand what the magical enemies you come across are going to do to you in combat. So let's talk spell level. Every spell in Baldur's Gate 3 will have a level, which we are assuming will be level 0 to 5. This level is a general indicator on how powerful this particular spell may be. That doesn't mean that lower level spells are not good, for it will always depend on the situation, but the higher level ones will have greater effects and can oftentimes turn the tide of a battle. As you progress through the game, higher level spells will start to become available, and your enemies will also become more powerful. In the earlier stages of the game, the lower level spells can certainly be very powerful for the difficult situations you are in at that time. Now let's talk about known and prepared spells. Before a spellcaster can use a spell, he or she must either know the spell or they must have the spell prepared. If you know a spell, it means you can cast the spell without needing any preparation to cast it. These known spells can be cast at any time. The Bard and Sorcerer class are good examples of classes that know spells. Other classes will use spells that require preparation before they can be cast. Once the spells have been prepared, you are good to go for the day. The classes that use prepared spells will have a list of spells that they can cast, and they will have the flexibility to change that list every day. For example, if you know you are going to be fighting a boss-like creature, you might use different spells for that day than say if your mission for the day was just to explore. So every time you finish a long rest, which in Baldur's Gate 3 you will rest at your player camp, you can then swap in and out spells on your list for the day. Like I said, there's a limited amount of spells that you can prepare each day, so you want to choose what you think you will need for that specific day. Clerics, druids, and paladins are well known for the use of these types of spells. So to summarize what we just talked about, think of it like this. Your spellcaster always has a list of spells they are ready to cast. For some classes, that list is static. They know a list of spells and those are the ones they use. For other classes, that list can change when they rest, letting you customize their capabilities as you deem necessary. Now, it is important to note that while playing the wizard class specifically, it is a little different regarding known and prepared spells. Wizards will have a spell book which contains your spells known, and you will prepare a subset of them each day. They have a ton of spells in their spell book, but they don't have them all prepared all the time. The wizard class is a little different. Now onto a very important part of the video, spell slots and cantrips. So what are spell slots? Well, think of it like this. When you manipulate the fabric of magic and channel its energy, it's physically and mentally taxing to your character, and this is where spell slots come into play. Regardless of how many spells your character knows or prepares, he or she can only cast a limited number of spells before resting. So resting essentially refills your magical energy for the day, and that magical energy is represented by your spell slots. Depending on which class you play and what level you are will determine how many spell slots you have available. There will also be different levels of spell slots. For example, a level 3 wizard will have 4 first level spell slots and 2 second level spell slots available. The spells you want to cast will have a corresponding level, and you must have a spell slot available that is the same level or greater than the level of the spell. So if a wizard is going to cast a magic missile, which is a level 1 spell, it will require the use of at least a level 1 spell slot. At least, I said. So a level 1 spell can also be used with a level 2 spell slot, but you could not use a level 2 spell in a level 1 spell slot. So another example, because it might be confusing, is that say if a wizard has used up his or her level 3 spell slots, but they still have level 1 and 2 spell slots available. If he or she wants to cast a level 3 spell, they cannot cast that spell unless they have level 4 spell slots available, which they may or may not even have them at all. So what happens when you have used up your spell slots? Well, you can no longer use those spells until you rest your character, which, like I said before, can be done at places such as your player's camp in Baldur's Gate 3. Now, it is important to note that some characters might have ways around casting spells without the use of spell slots, such as a monk who follows the way of the 4 elements, or a warlock who chooses certain eldritch invocations. Now let's talk about cantrips. Cantrips are spells that can be cast at will without using up a spell slot and without being prepared in advance. Simply put, they are free magic. They can be used whenever, however many times you would please. A cantrip spell level is 0, so basically they do not require you to be a certain level to use. Cantrips are nice spells to know, and it's always nice to be able to use some magic without having to think too much into it. Now we can talk about rituals. So rituals are spells that have a certain tag on them, ritual, and they can be cast as normal spells using up spell slots, or they can be cast as a ritual which does not use up a spell slot at all. But a ritual version of a spell in D&D takes 10 minutes longer to cast than normal, so casting in combat is not as common. Many ritual spells will be used outside of combat as utilities, such as summoning a magical barrier to protect you while you sleep, or letting you speak with animals, etc. I did not see any ritual spells in the gameplay reveal of Baldur's Gate 3, but they will most likely be included, for it doesn't seem like Larian is leaving out too much from the D&D player handbook. So apart from ritual spells, there will be other spells that require extra time to cast in the game, and these spells might work something like this. If you have a spell that takes longer than normal to cast, you might have to use up an action point for multiple turns for that spell and maintain your concentration on the spell in order to cast it. So that's the basics for understanding what spells are in Baldur's Gate 3. But how do you cast a spell? So most spells that you come across will require the use of an action point. Just like when more physical-based characters attack, their bow shots, etc. require the use of an action point. Be sure to check out my Combat Explained video if you do not know what an action point is. However, some spells may require the use of a bonus action or even a reaction point. If a spell uses a reaction point, in Baldur's Gate 3 you will have already set that spell to be used automatically when a reaction situation occurs. For example, a wizard might enable a shield spell for his reaction. That shield spell will be automatically cast using a reaction point when he or she is targeted by an attack or a magic missile spell. There will be all sorts of different ranges and areas of effect that your spells will have. Some spells might require you to target a creature, while others might be a point in space that you need to aim at. Some spells will create a cone or a line of effect that will originate from you, etc. So now we have to talk about a spell's components. A spell's components are the physical requirements you must meet in order to cast that particular spell. Each spell's description will indicate if it's verbal, somatic, or material. If you are using a verbal spell, you must ensure that your character is not gagged or in an area of silence, etc., or you will not be able to mutter the words necessary to cast the spell. In the Larian Q&A, they did say they were working on actually having the spell chanting be an actual sound effect that we hear, and that will be pretty cool if that happens. Somatic spells will require your character to do a certain gesture. Therefore, some might require that your character has a free use of at least one hand to perform the required gestures. Now, material spells require particular objects to cast. This will most likely require your character to have a hand that is free to use the required object. Some spells might use up the object completely and require you to have multiple objects if you want to keep using that spell, while other spells might not consume or destroy the object, and you can continue to use that object as many times as you would like. Spells will have varying durations in Baldur's Gate 3. A spell's duration is the length of time the spell persists. Some spells will specify that their effects last until the spells are dispelled. Many spells will be instantaneous, and they will harm, heal, create, or alter the targeted creature or an object in a way that can't be dispelled. Once you cast it, the creature is affected and you no longer need to do anything. Other spells might require continuous concentration in order to keep their magic alive. If you lose concentration, the spell will end. Some examples of how you may lose your concentration are: number 1, if you take damage, you must then make a Constitution saving throw to try and maintain your concentration. If you fail, you lose it. Number 2, you will lose concentration if you cast another spell that requires concentration. Number 3, you will lose concentration if you are incapacitated, or of course if you die. And the last thing we will talk about to end the video are the schools of magic. This will give you an idea as to what types of spells you may encounter in Baldur's Gate 3. The schools of magic are just a way of classifying spells in the game. They do not have their own rule sets or anything like that. They are just descriptors for all the spells. First up is Abjuration. These are spells that are protective in nature, though some have aggressive uses. Magical barriers, negating harmful effects, and banishing other creatures are some examples. Second is Conjuration. Conjuration spells involve the transportation of objects or creatures from one location to another. Some might summon creatures, while others might allow the caster to teleport. Third is Divination. Divination spells reveal information, secrets, glimpses of the future, or locations of hidden things, etc. Fourth are Enchantment spells. These spells affect the minds of others, influencing or controlling their behavior. Making enemies friendly or controlling another creature like a puppet are some examples. Fifth is Evocation. Evocation spells manipulate magical energy to produce desired effects. Some examples might be blasts of fire or lightning, or channeling positive energy to heal wounds. Sixth is Illusion. Illusion spells deceive the senses or minds of others, cause people to see things that are not there, miss things that are there, hear noises, etc. Seventh is many people's favorite, Necromancy. Necromancy spells manipulate the energies of life and death, granting extra reserves of life force, draining the life energy from another creature, creating the undead, or even bringing the dead back to life. And last up is Transmutation. Transmutation spells change the properties of a creature, object, or environment, turning enemies into harmless creatures, bolstering the strength of an ally. Really cool stuff, guys. So there is more to talk about with spellcasting, guys, but that covers the basics. I can't wait to experience this stuff in the game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my videos. I do all sorts of gaming content on this channel, ranging from comedy videos to live streams to game reviews to product reviews, etc. I would love to see some of you guys on a future video. Many more Baldur's Gate 3 videos to come. Put your questions below, please. I'll see you guys on the next one.